Today I want to talk about something called imposter syndrome. Now this is a condition that does affect people in the industry, and it's not just programming, but I've certainly met people who are affected by this, and I've had those feelings from time to time as well. So let's talk about imposter syndrome, what it is, but more importantly, how to overcome it in today's video. This video is brought to you by the Learn Programming Academy's Python Masterclass. Join close to 120,000 students and get 42 hours of video training which will teach you Python the right way. Grab a massive discount and instant access by visiting lpa.dev/YouTube Python or by clicking on the link in the description of this video. Welcome back, my name is Tim Buchalka with another programming tip of the day, and we're talking about imposter syndrome. So let's start with a sort of rough definition of what it is. Well, really what it is, it's a feeling that you've got where you feel that for whatever reason you're not worthy enough, or that other people, other programmers are smarter than you. Perhaps you're not smart enough. You're feeling that you're a fraud and you're going to be exposed as a fraud. And just in general, you've got these feelings that any other luck, any success you've had perhaps is being attributed to luck. So in other words, you're not really giving yourself any credit for any achievements you might have. And look, this is a real condition. Wikipedia's got a link about it, a page about it, and there's a link in the description if you want to refer to that. First thing to recognize is that the fact that there's information out there on imposter syndrome should actually be a good thing for you to realize, because it means that it's a recognized condition that people do actually have, and it's not necessarily the truth. So, it's particularly probably prevalent when you're just starting out. So if you're feeling a little bit uncertain because you're not to the stage where you're really comfortable as a programmer and everything comes to you sort of without having to think too hard about it, that's probably where it's going to really affect you the worst. Now, if you're starting your first programming job, you might feel intimidated, you might be feeling overwhelmed just at your first programming job, or just talking to your peers, because the reality is with programming and with most things, but certainly with programming, you're going to find guru programmers that you work with, people who you will look up to and think, wow, how do they know so much? And if you're actually comparing yourself to them all the time, that can really be a negative thing for you, and it can really sort of dent your self-confidence. Instead, I think what you need to do is just focus on what you have achieved and recognize that there's going to be always someone who's got more knowledge than you, and always someone who's got less knowledge than you, and people who are at your level. That's the reality of life in general, in virtually any skill. But when you're starting out programming, of course, if you're coming into your first job as a junior programmer, then probably a lot of people you're going to perceive to be at that high level, and it may not necessarily be true. It might just be that they actually know the particular company and the procedures and the systems that have been developed for that company better than you, because of course you haven't worked there before. So recognizing that and just trying to focus on what you've achieved is very important. So I like to do that if I ever had those feelings, and look, I have had those feelings in the past. I have to be completely honest, when I first started releasing programming courses on Udemy, going way back in 2015, I actually wondered, look, can I pull this off? Will people like the code? Am I worthy enough to produce courses like this? So it's a real condition that affects people. So again, I would focus on the fact that recognizing that there is a condition out there, but focusing on your achievements. Now, if you haven't got a programming job, and perhaps you're feeling these things about wondering whether you're going to ever be able to get a programming job, firstly, check my video up here on persistence. Very important for you to check that. So that's actually going to probably help you if you've got these feelings that you can't actually become a programmer. But also focus on what you've already succeeded at. Now, to give you an example of that, let's say you're starting out learning how to program. You've been through one of my courses, say the Java Masterclass course. You get to, say, section 2, and you're getting frustrated and thinking, oh, how am I going to understand this? Or section 3, in other words, you've done the basic things, but you're getting stuck on something. Now, what you could do is you could look at that and think, oh, I'm never going to understand programming, and you get frustrated and you either give up or you throw the monitor out the window or whatever it is. Or take a step back and go, okay, I'm having some trouble with this at the moment. I'm feeling a bit frustrated. What have I actually achieved? So go back and actually have a look at what you've already studied. You've learnt the basics of programming. Chances are you've already really built up your skills without realizing it, and you're not really focusing on what you've already achieved, what you've already learnt in the course. You're focusing on what's coming up. So I would actually celebrate the achievements. So celebrate what you do know and give yourself a bit of credit and say, okay, great, well, I've learnt the basics of programming now. Now I just need to get over this next roadblock, this next hurdle. So this really equates back to imposter syndrome as well, because if you're recognizing what you can do and focusing on the skills that you've achieved and you've succeeded at, you're going to feel less and less like this imposter. And look, you're not going to be exposed as a fraud in your first programming job because you do have the information. Now, obviously, if you're going into a programming job and you don't know anything about programming and you've tricked the interviewer to get a programming job, okay, you probably are going to be exposed as a fraud because you are in that scenario. But if you're someone who's been through a programming course, you've got the skills and you're now working, then look, you are a programmer. That's the reality. Have you got some other skills you need to acquire? Yes. Is there things you need to learn? Yes, absolutely. So do all programmers. And just remember this, the final thing I want to say here is that all programmers were at one point in their life where they didn't know how to code. No one is actually born a programmer. No one wakes up and then suddenly like a programmer. You've got to learn it. It's a journey to learn it. So just keep all that in mind and focus on your accomplishments and what you've done, and just realize that you are going to meet people at different skill levels. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing. If you haven't got the skill of another person, you haven't built up to their level of skill, they might have been doing it for 20 years and you might have been programming for 1 year. So they should be better, shouldn't they? They should be a lot better than you. But you're always going to find people, and I found this in my career. I've got people who I absolutely look up to and think, man, they are really good programmers. Will I ever get to that level? They're absolutely gurus in my eyes. But I've got other people that I've met at all stages as well. We all work together as a team when you get into a programming job, and you'll find that generally most people are nice and work with you, and it's very rare for people to look down on other people. I mean, it does happen, but it's very rare. So the point is, focus on your accomplishments and just realize that you're not a fraud. You just need to work on these skills. You've got a lot to learn, and that's the reality of being a programmer. There's always something more to learn. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Alrighty, so I hope that helped. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you. If you're ready to look at the next tip, click on up here and you can check that out. If you're interested in coding specific programming videos, click on the link in the bottom left hand corner. Consider subscribing by clicking on the link up here, and I'll see you soon.